Chapter 11. Oliver stood impatiently outside the war room, his feet rapidly tapping the floor. Rapidly, that means tapping very fast. He couldn't wait to enter. The war room was the pride of STS, Super Training School. So pride of Super Training School, that means the Super Training School is very proud of its war room. It resembled, that means looked like a giant tortoise shell with large hexagonal slabs of thick granite joining together to form a huge dome. Inside the dome, students battled virtual monsters. Virtual monsters, that means they are not real monsters, but they are computerized monsters in simulation conjured by telepath. Conjured, that means made up by telepaths. Okay. Countless superheroes highlighted the war room training as key to their success. So many superheroes say it's because of the war room training that led to their success. And now Oliver had the chance to follow in their footsteps. A small door opened in the war room and Mr. Chapman walked out. "Welcome, Oliver," he greeted before staring curiously at Oliver. "Oliver," he asked, "what happened to your battle gear?" Battle gear, that means battle uniform. Students of STS were all issued standard battle gear uniform for their war room sessions. But Oliver was dressed in a mishmash. Mishmash means like a confused mixture of home clothes. He wore track pants with leather boots, a waist belt super glued with pouches, a hoodie, and what looked like a swimming cap that was stretched and patched up to become a head mask. A pair of white goggles that covered almost half his face completed the ensemble. So you want to see how it looks like over here. So he has this hoodie, goggles, then this belt, super glued belt with pouches. Okay. It was the weirdest yet strangely the most captivating superhero costume Mr. Chapman had ever seen. "I wasn't issued one, Mr. Chapman," Oliver replied casually. "I tried buying one from the school shop, but the costumes were all out of stock, so I decided to make my own." Mr. Chapman shook his head in a mixture of mild irritation and embarrassment. "I never said handicapped students couldn't have battle gear. I'll sort it out with the school clerk." "No, it's okay," Oliver replied with a smile. "I like my battle gear. I've customized it, that means I've changed it to suit it to fit all my needs, and I'm sticking with it." Mr. Chapman smiled. "All right, Oliver, good improvisation. Well, let's not waste time. Come in and stand in the center." Once Oliver reached the center, Mr. Chapman closed the door from the outside. All of a sudden, Oliver was enveloped, that means surrounded and wrapped up in complete darkness. Suddenly, a familiar voice spoke from inside Oliver's head. "Good day, Oliver. This is Telepath Ted. We are going to start with a simple simulation today. Just shoot the bird." Before Oliver could ask what that meant, a shaft of light shone down to reveal a small creature hovering, that means flying and floating above him. It had 4 wings, a wide tail, and an anvil-shaped growth protruding out of its beak. "A hammerbird!" Oliver exclaimed. Oliver panicked. A hammerbird was one of the most agile, that means able to move quickly and easily, monsters in the galaxy. How could he just shoot it? Oliver raised his weapon, but the bird had already disappeared into the darkness. He twisted and turned, looking for the shot, but the bird was nowhere to be seen. "Tum!" Oliver stumbled forward as the bird rammed its rock-hard anvil into the back of his head. He turned to shoot, but the bird was already gone. Oliver massaged the tiny bump that had appeared at the back of his head. "Isn't this a simulation?" he muttered out loud to himself. "So isn't this whole thing just fake, like a fake battle? So how come there's a bump at the back of my head? It feels so real." Yes, it is," Ted replied. "Now ignore the throbbing pain and just shoot the bird." But wherever Oliver aimed his weapon, he saw nothing. "Tum!" The bird struck again. Oliver threw his vice down in frustration. Ah, this is impossible, he grunted. The bird's always coming from behind. Suddenly, Oliver's eyes lit up. He picked up his weapon, wrapped his hands loosely around the pistol grip, and straightened his arms out as if to shoot. But instead of aiming through the crosshair, Oliver closed his eyes. The bird rammed him from behind, but Oliver did not budge. The bird attacked again, but still he refused to move. Suddenly, Oliver swung his arm backwards and with one hand shot his vice just as the bird was about to hit him. The vice smashed through the bird, obliterating, that means totally destroying it into a cloud of dust. Immediately, Oliver's headache disappeared, and the door opened to reveal Mr. Chapman. "Well done, Oliver," Mr. Chapman said. "You figured it out very quickly." "It was like what you taught in class. Every monster has their own pattern of attack," Oliver responded with excitement. "Once I realized it always attacked from behind. It was easy." "Now, do you see why monster biology is useful?" Mr. Chapman replied. "Well, that's all for today. You have earned it. See you for training tomorrow." With each session in the war room, Oliver honed, that means sharpened his fighting skills and continued to work on his weapon. After 2 weeks of intense training, that means very hard training, he felt ready for any challenge. But nothing could have prepared him for the next day.